Long ago, in the grassy hills of Ubele Kingdom, where the sacred Udala tree spreads its golden fruit like blessings from the gods, lived a young man named Obina. He was known across villages for his skill with the bow and his pure heart. The elders said he was a man with a clean heart. Women sang his praises. Children followed him like chicks, and even the old warriors nodded with respect when he passed. But Obina's heart beat for only one, Adaeze, daughter of Chief Okonkwo, the richest and most feared man in Ubele Kingdom. She was very beautiful and impossible to ignore. But beyond her beauty was a voice that caught Obina's soul. She spoke like one who had seen the spirit dance and returned with secrets. Every market day, he would wait just to catch a glimpse of her. He was not like the other suitors. No arrogant display of strength, no boasts, no borrowed titles. Obina's hands were rough with honest work, his laughter sincere when their eyes finally met across the Nkwo market. It was as though the gods had clapped their hands. Their love blossomed in secret by moonlight under the Udala tree, where they whispered dreams and made promises the world would challenge. But the world has always had other plans. Chief Okonkwo had no intention of giving his daughter to a hunter, no matter how noble. He had pledged her to Ifeanyi, the son of a powerful neighboring chief, to strengthen political ties and secure more land. When Adaeze refused, he flew into rage, threatening to curse her with the wrath of Amadioha. She pleaded, but he only saw betrayal. Meanwhile, Obinna was unaware that Dike, his closest friend, had also loved Adaeze in silence. Dike, who once sworn to die for Obinna, now watched the two lovers with a growing poison in his heart. That poison soon turned into betrayal. It was Dike who whispered to Chief Okonkwo that Obinna was using charms to lure Adaeze, that he was not what he seemed, that he consulted with spirits in the forest and plotted to overthrow the chief. The chief, already furious, believed him. One night, as the moon hung like a judgmental eye in the sky, the chief's guards stormed Obina's home. They dragged him through the village, beat him before the ancestors' shrine, and declared him an enemy of the land. Obinna looked for Dike among the crowd, but his friend only looked away. He was exiled from Ubele Kingdom, cursed and forbidden to return on pain of death. Adaeze was locked away in her father's compound. The Udala tree, once their meeting place, was cut down and burned. The gods, they said, had spoken, but Obinna was not broken. As he wandered through the wilderness, he was so hungry and filled with hunger. He swore by the bones of his ancestors that he would return, not just for love, but for truth, for honor, for the man he used to be. He made his way to a kingdom called Niri Kingdom, a distant land known for its ancient wisdom and powerful diviners. There he would train under the blind seer and face the trials of the water goddess, the spirit queen of the water, who alone could reveal the path to redemption. But even in exile, things were not going well in Ubele Kingdom. Dike had tasted power and he wasn't ready to let go. He had plans for Adaeze and for Obinna if he should return. Obinna wandered for days through thick forests and shallow streams. The bruises on his back still raw, but nothing hurt more than the imagination of Adaeze's tear-stained face as he was walked away. Her voice, once soft like morning wind, echoed in his head. Obinna, wherever the spirits take you, my heart will follow. He held on to that. He reached the settlement of Neri Kingdom after many days. where it seems as though the trees themselves were whispering secrets. The blind seer, whose fame stretched across the kingdom, dwelt there. According to the villagers, he had the ability to communicate with the dead and see through time. What surprised Obinna was how the old man greeted him. "Obinna, son of Nduka," the blind seer said before Obinna could see anything. "You came not just with pain, but with flames the world must see." Obinna fell to the ground. "I am looking for atonement and the strength to recover my truth." The elderly man touched his head. "The river that remembers must then be crossed." He was guided to the holy river that is protected by the strong water spirit, the river goddess, who is known to test the hearts of men. Few came back from the river, where many had gone in search of truth. Obinna was standing by the river at midnight when the moon was full. The water shines like a glowing serpent. Behind him, the blind seer's voice echoed. "You have to go in without fear. What you hide from yourself will be revealed by the river." Obinna stepped into the water. It felt cold, as though entering into memory. As he went deeper into the water, he was out of sight. He saw a Daisy, her eyes empty, her hair cut short in grief, and she was locked up like a prisoner in her father's house. She disappeared as he tried to touch her. Then he noticed Dike laughing while sitting next to Chief Okonkwo, dressed in Obinna's old hunting clothes. Then he noticed his mother standing next to the Udala tree, dead for 10 years. Her expression was severe and serious. "Will you rise with fire or drown in grief, my son?" She said, "Love is also fighting for, not just hanging on to, and feelings." The water started to move about in a circle. A woman with black eyes and a body composed of shining liquid surfaced from its depth. She introduced herself as the river goddess. "Your heart still bleeds for revenge, even though you desire justice." Obinna bowed. "All I want to do is fix what went wrong." She went around him. "What happened if love is lost? Will you still stand?" "I will." She put her hands on his chest and reached out. Memories of his father's passing, betrayal, and dreams burned through his body. "Then you must choose. Drink from the river of remembrance and lose your past to gain strength, or return and remain bound by sorrow." Obinna paused. Drinking meant forgetting everything, including his sister, Adaeze, and his early years. However, forgetting also meant healing. He raised the calabash. Despite his hand shaking, a whisper stopped him, just as the liquid touched his lips. "Obinna." Adaeze's voice was hard, not a vision, real, distant, calling across time. He let the calabash fall. "I will carry my pain," he said, "because it carries her." The river goddess smiled. "Then get up," she said. "You have passed the test." Water formed the circle around him in a rush. He found himself on the riverbank when he woke up, his heart stronger and his body renewed. The blind seer was waiting. "Even though it hurts, you chose love. It's time to go back home." However, the journey would not be easy. Meanwhile, King Okonkwo was dying back in Ubele Kingdom. Surrounded by his enemies, Dike had become more audacious, bribing the council of elders and talking to warriors. He intended to take over and force Adaeze to become his wife. Adaeze had sent a message through a traveler. "Come, Obinna, if you are still alive, not just for me, but for the truth." You are needed in this land. Obinna held his bow more tightly. The hunter had turned into the tempest. When Obinna again entered into Ubele Kingdom, the sun had just begun to rise. Every bird appeared to be witnessing a silent return, and every tree appeared to be watching him. There were rumors among the villagers that he had drowned, gone insane, or disappeared into the afterlife, but he stood taller, darker, and had eyes that burned like coals beneath a calm surface. He was no longer the boy who had been treated badly. He was a man who had walked and talked with spirit. First, he visited his sister, Ugomma, who was now living in peace on the outskirts and was despised because she was his sister. When she saw him, her tears filled his chest, and for a long time, words could not express how they felt. She whispered to him, "They said you were dead." With a slight smile, he said, "The dead do not carry bows, but I return for more than vengeance." That night, she told him all that had happened when he was away. Due to illness, Chief Okonkwo had become weaker. By deceiving the elders, spreading false information to the populace, and promising peace if Adaeze married him, Dike had filled the void. The once noble council has broken apart and become greedy. Adaeze, however, continued to resist. She had attempted to flee twice and was caught. To give Dike complete legitimacy, they now intended to marry her on the sacred day of kingship celebration, Ofala. There were just 4 days left. Obinna was so angry, and he said the land must then be awakened. Obinna moved with silence. He visited the old Ibini shrine, where the Ofo staff of judgment was once kept, under the moonlight. 20 years had passed since Obinna's father, a former elder, passed away, and it had not been touched. He called to the ancestors while kneeling in front of the shrine. "You are the one who created this place. Lightning danced with you. Talk now if my heart is sincere." The wind blew. The dry air was abruptly broken by a blast of wind, and the Ofo staff dropped from its hiding spot and landed at the feet of Obinna in the dust. He had been accepted. Word spread slowly round the village. Obinna is back. Some whispered in fear, while others were very happy. The young men recalled the stories of the hunter with the pure heart, while the elderly women recalled the Udala tree. One by one, loyal men began to gather. 12 warriors joined him in the wilderness by the second night. Obinna told them that this was not a rebellion. This is a purification. Adaeze, meanwhile, was getting ready for a different kind of war inside the chief's property, her father's house. Days had passed since she last saw the sky. She was frequently visited by Dike, who made fun of her silence. Touching her chin, Dike murmured, "He will not return. However, I am here. I will make you my queen." She turned her face away. "Better to marry the wind than the snake," she said. He slapped her after she said those words. Later that night, a tiny bird landed outside her window and dropped a carved Udala seed, which was a symbol that only she and Obinna understood. She held it with trembling hands. He was still alive. He was also near. It was the day of Ofala. Music and color filled the village square, but no one was happy. The people gathered more out of fear than celebration. The crowd assembled. Even the spirits were restless as dancers moved and drums echoed throughout the land. Standing in the middle with his arms lifted, Dike was dressed in royal red attire. Adaeze stood by him, motionless. wrapped in the garment of a reluctant bride. As the priest raised the Ikenga statue to bless the union, a loud shout stopped the ceremony. Everyone was confused and began to complain and talk to each other. Obinna walked in, followed by warriors. Ugomma walked behind him, followed by the villagers, elderly women singing a sorrowful song of reckoning. "This land is not for sale," Obinna roared, "and the truth cannot be buried." The priest stopped. The villagers were confused and silent. Dike laughed. "You come back with nothing but noise." Then from the crowd, one of the Elder Mazi Uche, then stood and singled a staff. "We must listen to this man if the gods have given him back the Ofo." Dike pulled out his blade. "He is a liar and a traitor." Adaeze, however, moved forward before any blood could be shed. "Let us then address the ancestors. Let us be honest with the Ikenga and let the gods make the final decision." The cycle got bigger. They lit a fire. Obinna told his story, one by one, of exile, of betrayal, and the river that tried him. Adaeze also spoke with tears in her eyes and strength in her voice. The villagers listened. The spirit watched. Desperate now, Dike swung his blade at Obinna, but Obinna remained motionless. All he did was raise the Ofo. Immediately, there was a sudden wind that filled the gathering with dust and flames. As if held by an invisible force, Dike paused in the middle of the blow. "Amadioha speaks," the crowd exclaimed as the flames blazed. Dike fell to the ground. The priest broke the marriage stick in 2 pieces as he went forward. "This union is not blessed. This man has told lies. Let him be judged by his ancestors." Obinna went to Adaeze. She was crying uncontrollably as she looked up at him. "You returned." "I never went away." He took her hand in promise rather than triumph. Not every wound healed. However, the land had remembered, and the Udala tree, they say, began to grow again. The morning after Ofala, it rained heavily, and it was said that the rain was a cleansing rain sent by the gods to wash away years of bitterness, lies, and silence. Dike was banished and caused to wander the land as a man with a dark heart, after being stripped of his titles and exposed in front of the gods and people. According to some, he passed away in the desert far from home. Others claim that he survived, haunted by the river's voices. Once powerful, Chief Okonkwo was now a shadow of his former self. Lying in bed, he summoned Obinna. True to his name, Father's Heart, Obinna approached the chief's chamber with humility. The chief spoke in a fragile tone. "You embarrass me, Obinna, with your mercy, not your strength." Obinna bowed. "I did not return to shame. I came back to heal." With tears streaming down his cheeks, the elderly man closed his eyes. "Look after my daughter. Make her mom proud." Those were his final words. In subsequent months, Ubele Kingdom started to rise once more. The Council of Elders was reformed, this time with voices both old and young. Ugomma was called to sit among them. Her wisdom finally recognized. The Udala tree, cut down in rage, began to grow again from the root. No one had planted it. It simply returned. Their union was not one of parades or feasting, but of quiet reverence. At the river bank where Obinna had once met the river goddess, they exchanged vows, not just to each other, but to the land, the people, and the spirit that had carried them through fire. They built a new home not in the chief's compound, but beside the Udala tree, where children could sit and hear the story of how love endured. Years passed. Obinna became a leader, not by force, but by example. He hunted less and taught more, passing on not just skills but values, truth, courage, patience. Adeze became the soul of the village, healing the sick, comforting the grieving, and holding festivals to honor forgotten gods. Together, they raised three children, each with the fire of their father and the wisdom of their mother. And every Nkwo market day, as the sun set, Obina would sit under the Udala tree with a child on his lap and begin. Long ago, a man was exiled for loving too deeply, and the child would ask, "Was this true, Papa?" And Obina would smile, "As true as the seed that never dies." The tale of Obina and Adeze became more than memory, it became legend. In times of doubt, the people would gather by the Udala tree and whisper, "Let love return," as Obina did. Because love, true love, does not shatter when tested, it grows stronger, like roots in the soil, like trees in the storm, like hearts that will not forget.